My dad forced me to fight him to make me a man and broke my bones when I lost, until the day I brought someone who fights back. After my mom died when I was 12, my father decided fists would raise me better than love ever could. He started with boxing lessons in the garage where I had to defend myself or get hit, but within months, he was making me fight him for any infraction, turning our home into his personal fight club where I was the only opponent. The worst part was his philosophy that every problem, disappointment, or emotion should be solved like men solve things. When I got a C in algebra at 13, he woke me at midnight for a lesson in consequences that left me with a black eye I had to explain as a basketball accident. When I cried at 14 after our dog died, he fractured 2 of my ribs, teaching me that real men don't cry, they fight through pain. Then I flinched at his raised hand during dinner, and he made me stand there while he hit me repeatedly, counting each blow out loud until I stopped flinching. Even when my teacher called about bruises, he didn't stop. Instead, he just started homeschooling me for a year to avoid misunderstandings while the beatings got worse without witnesses. The night everything changed was my 16th birthday, when he announced it was time for my final exam in manhood. He'd been drinking since noon and called me to the garage where he'd cleared a circle in the center like a ring. "Tonight you become a man, or you leave this house a failure," he said, while wrapping his hands with tape. I tried to walk away, but he grabbed my shoulder and spun me around. His first punch shattered my orbital bone, and my vision went white on the left side. I dropped to my knees and felt blood pooling in my eye socket while he stood over me laughing. "I gave you over 18 years of lessons, and you're still this weak." He said it like he'd just proven something. That's when I decided to stop playing defense, because if I didn't fight back, then this would never end. I drove to the hospital in complete silence while blood soaked through the towel pressed against my face. At the hospital, I remembered Uncle Mike, my dad's younger brother. He was a former Marine, and my father always called him weak for walking away from the family. But at my mom's funeral, Uncle Mike had pulled me aside and told me to call him if I ever needed help. So that's exactly what I did. I told him everything about my father's lessons, and my uncle said just one thing: "I'm on my way. No one does this to my nephew and gets away with it." When he arrived at the hospital, I explained my plan to him. "Every Saturday morning at 10, my dad works out alone in the garage. That's when you can visit." I didn't sleep at all Friday night because I kept seeing my father laughing over my shattered face and hearing his voice saying I'd always be weak. By Saturday morning, my hands were steady with purpose as I unlocked the garage side door. My father was in there doing his routine, completely absorbed in his shadow boxing and heavy bag work. I went back inside and waited while my father remained oblivious. My uncle arrived exactly 15 minutes later. My father actually tried to act dominant, saying, "Mike, you're back. Did you come for another beating?" But my uncle cut him off by grabbing my father's precious heavy bag and ripping it off the chain with one pull. Then he threw it across the garage while my father's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. They didn't exchange words because they didn't need to. Instead, my uncle methodically made him feel what I'd felt for years, which was complete terror. He stalked my father around the garage using the same fighting stance my father had taught me, but with lethal precision behind every movement. My father threw a desperate haymaker, but my uncle slipped it and countered with the exact same orbital bone shot my father had given me. The crack echoed through the garage, and my father dropped just like I had. My uncle then delivered every single lesson my father had given me over the years, counting them out loud, just like my father used to do. The rib shots for crying, the wrist lock for quitting, each technique perfectly mirrored while my father begged him to stop. By lesson 15, my father was crawling toward the door, but my uncle dragged him back to the center. "Now you know how your son felt for years." That's all my uncle said before leaving my dad unconscious on the garage floor in a pool of his own blood and shame. I packed my bags and moved in with my uncle that night, while my father sat in his ruined garage unable to even look at me. He never pressed charges because I guess he was scared of what I might reveal about his training methods if anyone started asking questions.